What's up, everyone? Just dropping on, grabbing a little lunch here. Let me see. I might have only actually. I don't know if I triggered this thing that only allows subscribers to comment, but maybe I did. But for those that are wondering, I just got into like the TikTok subscriber program, and they allow you to basically create like a community for people who want to join for different perks. So kind of like the perks that I'm adding with my subscriber base is I'm replacing a lot of like the one-on-one coaching calls and everything that I do. So I get a lot of the same questions, and I like these like big group live sessions instead. So, but I get a ton of questions in them. So I normally do my Wednesday evening lives for an hour, and I get like over 1,000. Actually, it's like lately it's been like over 2,000 unique viewers during that entire time. So I get a ton of questions. It's usually like rapid fire. Don't get to go into a lot of depth. So normally, for my coaching calls, career coaching calls, it's like I do like 375 for 45 minutes. It's reflective of how much my time is worth and all the stuff that I'm working on. So instead, if you sub, you get priority access with creating new videos, video answers. Can ask as many questions as you want within these chats. Personalize if you want to hop on video or voice, you can definitely do that too. But for people that are new, I've been in tech sales for about 7 years now, I think. It goes by quick. So I've worked at big companies, Amazon, Google, smaller startups. I started off on the support side, moved into an SDR role, that's the entry level role. Nowadays you make 60 to 100K in that role, and then I moved up from there, and then I targeted the really big top tier companies. So I did a video. It was a stitch. There's been a lot of those like interview style videos where like, hey, what do you do? And I thought it was an interesting one. They were interviewing a guy. He only had an associate's degree, making 110K base in sales. So yes, sales is not just commission only. There are sales positions where you have a solid base salary. So in tech sales, you're selling software to other businesses, B2B. Very different. There's no high pressure sales techniques. It's more about being a trusted advisor. And they do have very high base salaries. Like my base is actually just about 200K. And then your total pay is typically double what your base is. So if you hit your quota, you'll make 200, or you'll make double, and then you can make more than that. So that's where I hit over 500 last year, just from that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, maybe I'll hop back on and do a public live. I don't think it allows me to switch the settings, which is kind of frustrating, where you can't turn on. I wish you could do like subscribers only for like maybe like the first 10 minutes or something. That would be awesome. Maybe they'll add that. But let me know if you guys have any questions. So far, I think we've got like 12 subs, which is cool. One of the other things I'm gonna be doing with the subs, I'm gonna be doing like monthly giveaways. So for the first sub, I've been collecting graded Pokemon cards. So for the first sub, which was yesterday, I'm sending out one of the graded cards. And I'm gonna do kind of different like monthly things as well, just to kind of like keep it fun. Like I don't really make any money off of TikTok, like net. I pretty much invest everything back into creating more content, getting more equipment, keeping things interesting. So I'm gonna be doing definitely more stuff like that. And then a lot of people were asking me comments on that video, like how do you get into tech sales? It's not that difficult. You just have to know the process. You have to be able to navigate it. You need to know how to interview. You need to know what companies to look for, what to watch out for. So look at my playlist, get into the tech sales playlist. It's in one of my playlists at the top of the profile. You can go ahead and see that. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for joining. And then, doing a lot better. Actually, yesterday I was so annoyed. I posted on the story. I was driving home and got T-boned in the Tesla by a bad driver who ran a stop sign. So I had to get the car towed, went to the hospital because I had like neck and back pain Fortunately, it's a lot better today, but I'm thinking the car is gonna be totaled, so fun stuff. But anyway, fortunately, I live downtown, so I don't have to drive too much. But they're gonna do a rental car and everything there. But yeah, so other thing I'm gonna be doing with the subs is I'm gonna be doing more and more lives. I think I'm gonna start doing daily lives, and I'm gonna do at least 2 like open lives. So like the Wednesday evening lives, which I didn't do it yesterday because I was in the hospital. So I'm rescheduling that for today. So you can subscribe for that. You can get a reminder in my bio. It'll give you a pop-up when that live actually happens. And that one's just gonna be open forum. But of course, if you're a subscriber, you get a badge. So that way I see your comment, I'll answer your questions. I feel bad because like usually what happens is I get people that, they get so many questions, I can only answer so many of them. And then some people will repeat the same question 4 or 5 times, but sometimes the chat lags, I don't even see it. And then people can get frustrated. So I think it's like $5 for the sub, and it's really just a filter for me because I get exhausted when I answer so many questions. But that'll be an open live. I might do one more open live too, and then I think I'm gonna try to do at least like 3 or 4 throughout. But yeah. And if you guys are wondering about the nails, my daughter, she turned 4 last Saturday, and she really wanted Dad to go to the mani-pedi, so we all got matching colors, which is kind of funny. I've never done it before. I was kind of surprised that got a lot of compliments on it. I don't know if probably won't keep it though, because it's like extra work. But there's that. And then, so I'm gonna do a mix between like the paid lives just for subscribers only, keep it personal, and then so I know not everyone has like the means to even do $5 or whatever, and that's fine. That's why I pretty much make all my content free. Like even like the course that I'm working on is free too. I'm a big believer, and this is why I do like B2B sales, right? I would rather get money from the big companies that have the money to spend, they have the large budgets, rather than like, charging, people that are just trying to like break in. Like when I first started working, like my first corporate job, I was making, it was relatively decent, $60K, but you're like paycheck to paycheck. So I mean, every little bit helps there. So that's why it's gonna be free for sure. We're almost done with all the content. It's 5 weeks. I think I just finished shooting like week 4 content, and I got my laptop here. I'm gonna be working on like the week 5 content, and I think we're aiming to actually launch it in like 3 weeks. But the wait list is in the bio, and if you go through me, you'll get a priority. Catherine, thanks for subscribing. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions, anything really about tech sales, feel free to shoot them over. Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing more. Like this is why I feel bad with like the Discord. I just had too many things I piled on. So I'm gonna be doing, I like more like this like small group type stuff, and I was just trying to like figure out like the right way to do it, and I think this is kind of like an interesting way. So if you have any questions, as a subscriber, definitely feel free to ask them in the chat, or if you feel comfortable, you can hop on video or you can hop on voice. You can do a guest request, which is kind of cool there. I don't think there's any restrictions on guest requests, but that's awesome. Yeah, and then you get a little badge and you get little emoticons. I think the TikTok rep was telling me that they're going to be adding more features for this. Like they might have like private playlists. We'll see. But they're investing more in the community stuff. This is why I love like TikTok. I love doing the video. The only thing it's kind of missing is this community aspect. That's why I have like the Discord group. So you save messages, because you really have like your lives where you interact with your followers. Then you have like the videos and the comments. But there isn't anything that's really like persistent. You're a sales manager in tech and always wanting to get better. That's awesome. Yeah. What if you could give any more detail? What type of tech? And yeah, you're always learning in this field too. Everything just moves so rapidly. Like when I first started in like 2014, it's totally different now than it used to be. Like social selling is way bigger than it used to be. It wasn't really even a thing back then. B2B, awesome, yeah. So for people that don't know, B2B is business to business. Thumbtack, nice. Oh yeah, I've used Thumbtack before. So for people that don't know, yeah, B2B, business to business, there's a lot of terminology, a lot of lingo, corporate lingo, and that's where I've done a couple of videos breaking it down. I think I need to do another one of those again. I feel like half the job, or half the challenge of getting a job in the industry is even just like getting past all of like the lingo, knowing what positions to apply for. Different companies will have different titles for the same position. Sometimes the descriptions are odd. You really need to get referrals and reach out to hiring managers, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. You need to have a LinkedIn. You need to build out your profile the right way. You need to network with the hiring managers, network with other reps there to get referrals. And then even once you're in, there's all these terms. Like I remember when I first started, I spent like the first 3 weeks, or almost the first 3 months, was like recording like every call and meeting that I was on, and then taking down as many notes as I could, because there were so many acronyms, so much jargon that I really had to like jot everything down. You learn it pretty much all on the job. So how do you start a sales call? Great question. So if it's, usually I don't like to start, building rapport I think is really important, especially in B2B sales, because the sales cycles are longer. You're going to be working, selling to the customer for several weeks or several months. And oftentimes they might be interested in the product, but might not be the right time for them. So relationship building becomes pretty important. So you want to spend time building rapport. I think I probably need to do a video maybe about like small talk, like different topics, but general, safe topics would be any upcoming trips, holidays, sports, hobbies. Try to find something, and then when you're writing down notes, when you're reaching out to prospects, like if they tell you something about their kids, or if they say their kid's name, that's like a great thing to jot down. And that way, when you start the next call, you can go ahead and ask like, oh, hey, how was the event or whatever that they told you. So you want to have something to tie back, and that really lowers the guard of the people that you're selling to. So super important. Don't go straight into the business. Like honestly, like most people are like, depending on when the call is, like they might already be kind of like checked out for the day or whatever. So it can be a great way to kind of like break up the monotony of like their day too. 500K annual. How many hours did I work? So I worked, it was like 35 to 40 hours. So in sales and in tech sales, your busyness really kind of like depends based on the time of the year, the time of the quarter. So a lot of deals will try to get closed, by the end of the quarter, because companies have different budgets. That'll be more busier. If you're working on account planning, that's going to take more time too. Usually you do account planning once or twice per year. And then, around holidays, usually it slows down because your customers aren't working. So, they're not available for calls, but you have a lot of flexibility. You set your own schedule. And it's one of those jobs too, where if you put in like double the hours, it's not going to necessarily turn into double the results, right? You have to be very strategic with your time. You need to spend the time in the right places. It's very easy to get pulled into different rabbit holes by the customer. Like let's say like they get really focused on a very specific feature and they want to set up a bunch of demos and deep dives into that specific feature, and like you can easily spend like half your work week on things that aren't going to directly lead to revenue. So you need to be able to like effectively manage your time. And if you do, I think most the work-life balance for people that kind of have it down and are productive, there aren't too many people that are working like much more than 40 hours, and you'll find people that are working especially less, especially at the higher level. So usually when you move up, you're working on larger accounts and you have a smaller number of accounts, so it's lower volume, it's more strategic. So when you're at the SMB level, small and medium business level, you'll be covering 100, 200, maybe 300 accounts, depends on the territory. You move up to enterprise, it could be anywhere from like 100 to only 20 accounts, and then there's key and strategic accounts, and in that case you might only have one account. So very, very different there. But great questions. Oh, that's actually a cool feature. I didn't even realize that you can still ask questions if you're not a sub. So there you go. Would you say the social media has helped my career? I would say so. It's definitely given me some interesting connections, both in, because the tech community is fairly small, but it's given me a good amount of exposure to like the venture capital side. Through some of the partnerships that I've developed, I've definitely learned quite a bit. I would say my sales experience definitely actually even like helped on the creator side in terms of monetizing, like being able to negotiate contracts, being able to pitch different offerings for promotions. You essentially use all the same sales skills in different parts of your life, which is kind of cool. I mean, a lot of the same sales skills you can use even like in bettering your relationships, for example, like being a good listener and all those sorts of things. So, and then I have gotten some interesting opportunities pitched to me through it. Haven't really hopped on any of them yet, but I would say it's definitely been helpful. I think nowadays more than ever, just with how much social has become prominent in the business world, it's only beneficial on your end to kind of expand your reach and build out your own brand personally, as opposed to like putting all your eggs in one basket with whatever company you're working at. Great question. Yeah, and then with social selling, it used to be on you would just do LinkedIn, you would kind of like post random comments, random posts about your company, but because customers are like entering the buying cycle later and later, like being able to get in front of your customer without having to directly cold call them, I think is really, really, really powerful. Cecilia, thanks for hopping on. She's another one of the early subs. I'll do something. I think I'll do something special for like the first 20 subs total. I gotta think about that. I think so far we're up to like 13. So. But yeah, and then for people that are like looking to break in, you don't need a specific degree or anything like that for sure. You really just need to be able to sell yourself properly. Even if you don't have prior like sales experience, you're going to be selling one way or another depending on what job you're in, internally or externally. So if you look at my Get Into Tech Sales playlist, that alone has helped people get into tech sales. Like, you do have to be a little bit of a self-starter. So, they have courses out there, like paid courses, paid programs. But I would say like, the really strong reps, they're problem solvers, critical thinkers. They just need some guidelines, and then you kind of like let them loose and they figure out what to do and meet the goals. So I think that's kind of important. So I would look at my Get Into Tech Sales playlist. I have the steps kind of broken down, like what position are you looking for, how to get referrals, how to find jobs, where do you find them, how do you actually apply for them, preparing for the interview. So I have those videos out there. But yeah, who do I work for now? I work for Amazon Web Services, so sell the cloud. I sold cloud when I was at Google as well, Google Cloud Platform. And then I've also sold cybersecurity SaaS, and then I've sold fintech SaaS as well. And then I've also actually done hardware test and measurement. That was like my first foray into sales. It was more of like an engineering kind of like focus role. In the hardware space, you end up being kind of like both the sales rep and the sales engineer. But yeah, definitely like a broad range of experiences, which has definitely helped. Because I jumped around a little bit, but I made sure that my experiences built on top of each other. And I feel like it's only like made me, a stronger rep and given me more perspective, because I see how things work at small startups. I see how things work at big corporations. I've been able to see, compare and contrast the difference between different organizations. So yeah. I know some people who they'll stay in the same place for 10, 15 years. That could be great, especially if you have a good career trajectory, but then it kind of potentially can kind of give you some tunnel vision where you only, there's only one way that you've kind of seen things been done, which is why actually it used to be frowned upon to jump around, but now companies actually almost encourage it, because they know that if you leave and you go somewhere for 2-3 years, they actually, pretty much all the big tech companies, they have recruiting teams specifically to recruit people that left. They want to bring them back because they already know that they fit well within the culture, and they're going to bring in these outside experiences and insights that are only going to help the company grow in general. So, Cześć, Tomek. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so I'm 100% Polish, but unfortunately my speaking skills aren't great. My parents, they both immigrated from Poland, but they like a lot of immigrant parents, they forced me and my sister to only speak English. So unfortunately, I didn't keep a lot of the speaking. I can understand it, fluently, but the speaking is pretty bad. But thanks for joining. Dziękuję. How do you feel about job hopping? Yeah, so I just touched on that. So job hopping can be very powerful early on in your career. You need to make sure when you job hop, you're not just making lateral moves. Like for example, if you're an SDR, I wouldn't leave, let's say, before 2 years if you haven't gotten promoted to an AE, because then you're just going to reset. So like you have to be you have to be a little strategic with your job hopping for sure. And then you will hit a point. So like for example, at the big tech companies, they have a leveling system. So Amazon, I'm currently at like a level 6, which is fairly senior. And then, but going past level 6, for example, getting hired as an external hire at a level 7 or higher position is extremely difficult. And most of the people at those levels, they get promoted up to those levels too. So I would say first 5 years, you can definitely job hop a bit, but then after that, you're gonna need to find a place where you can really spend 2, 3, 4 years to really make an impact and kind of get to that next level. So kind of a long answer there, but yeah, you could definitely make a lot of money. Like I made early on in my career, like each career jump that I made job hop was 50 to 100K raise. Like my first job, for example, I stayed there for 2.5 years. Started off in technical support, moved into an SDR role, got promoted to a sales rep, and then so I started at like 62, and I think when I left it was like 72. I did a couple of videos on the pay progression, and then my next jump I went from 72 to 135, so huge jump. I remember when I was a little worried about whether or not I should leave. Maybe I was like stressing out about it too much. I feel a lot of people stress out a lot about like job hopping early on. But it ended up being a great move. I learned a lot, and obviously a big pay bump. Like what you need to do when you have like a new job ahead of you is you need to consider, what does your current promotion timeline look like? Like if you stay, are you going to be promoted in the next year or two? And if you do, what's your pay going to look like in that position? And then you also need to consider this other job, right? At the other job, you can look at the current pay. What's the career progression there? What's the, do you actually want to be at that other company long term, or would you rather stay at your company long term? And you just need to kind of like do a calculation there. So for me at that first job, I knew that if I continued to be a top performer, I was talking with my manager, and he said like, oh, well, if you get a top performer, you can get promoted to the next level in about 12 months. And I asked him, okay, well, how much is that going to pay me, or how much is that going to pay? And he's like, well, so you're currently at 72. Like it might get you up to like 82, 83, maybe 84K. And I was like, okay, well, this other job, they're offering me 115, and they said that they would bump me up to 135 after a quarter, after 3 months. So, clearly in that case, it was like a no-brainer decision for me to make that jump. Is it stressful? Because it feels like in interviews, they question why you leave positions. Yeah, so that comes up quite a bit. So you need, like, if you do job hop, you do need to have good answers for why you left, and why are you looking for different positions. It's definitely easier when you're interviewing for positions that they reached out to you for. So that's going to be a different dynamic than if you're applying for positions. So but you don't need to go into a lot of detail. I would say big number one thing is never talk bad about like your prior employer, even if they were like a nightmare company to work for. You do want to keep things positive, because if you bring in like a negative tone, it's going to set a whole negative tone for the rest of the interview. And then also you might cast some doubt in the hiring manager's eyes, because they might wonder, maybe you're just a toxic personality. Are you going to bring that over to the company? And if you're not successful, you're going to talk bad about our company too. So keep that in mind. But a good answer would be, you just found a different position that better match with your career goals, right? There we go. Sorry guys, I had a call come in. It's so annoying. Even when I decline it, it like drops the live for like 15-20 seconds. So frustrating. But yes, so have a good answer. Some just common answers would be the position. You just we're looking for different growth opportunities, right? So, and then don't go into a lot of detail either, right? Just have a very short answer, 1 to 2 sentences, and then then just move on. Honestly, like most interviewers that I've done a lot of interviews, they really don't care unless you have like. The one thing that would kind of be a red flag for companies would be like if you have 3 jobs in a row that you've only been at for like 3 to 6 months. That's pretty short. That's pretty extreme. But if it's like 12 plus months, that's usually fine. Have I been interested in being a sales manager? You're all about making more money and furthering my career. Yeah, I've thought about it. I used to be a sales engineering manager, so at the cyber startup, I got promoted up to manage a team, build out a team. I definitely enjoyed that aspect. That's a common question that I get, is, do I take this manager position or do I continue to be an individual seller? So in general, if you really want to maximize your income, in my opinion, you want to be a manager at the higher levels. So you want to be like an enterprise sales manager. And in order to get those positions, you really need to have individual seller experience as an enterprise sales rep. So what that means is don't move into management too early. Like if you're an SDR and you get positioned, you get proposed, becoming an SDR manager, you might want to reconsider if like your end goal is to be an enterprise field sales manager. You might want to reconsider and hold off on making that move because it could potentially be a bit more difficult to move into management, to move up that ladder because you don't have that first-hand experience. And then the other thing too is if you're a really strong rock star rep and you're consistently blowing out your quota, making 600, 700K a year plus year over year as an enterprise rep, you're probably going to make more money as an individual rep, staying as an individual rep, because as a manager, your quota is a combination of all the reps that you're covering, and not every rep is going to be a rock star. So. Do you know how much base rise a GCP rep can get in EMEA when moving up in percent? Yeah, so when I was at Google, it was about, it depends. So the base ranges, right? So at Google and most other tech companies, they have a leveling system. And within each level, there's a pay band. So there's a range of base salaries for each level. So if you're at the upper end, let's say if you're currently an L5 rep at GCP, if you're at the upper end of the base salary at L5, your percent jump to an L6 could be as low as like 5%. I've seen pretty small jumps there on level, because in that case you were already really close to what the lower end of an L6 was. But if you're at the low end of a level 5, the jump could be, I think the highest that I've seen was like just about 20% for base salary. So not huge jumps, but depending on the specific job family that you're in, your commission can go up as well. So you might go from like, a 60, 60-40 split to a 40-60 split. So Kendall, thanks for subbing. Hey Tom, you're currently a tech SDR, currently moved to AWS. Do you have any recs on standing out? Yes, so congrats on being an SDR and getting in. That first job is definitely the hardest. So it sounds like so if you're considering a move, do you already have an offer? Have you applied, or are you thinking about applying? Because the answer is gonna depend there. Or are you currently in an interview process? But in general, referrals are going to go a long way. So if there is a specific position you want to apply for at AWS, send me your resume and the specific job posting to my email in my bio, and I'll put in a referral for you. And that's that easily kind of gives you a pretty big jump. It kind of puts you right at the top of the stack. So it's not a guarantee that you'll get an interview, but I think it increases your chances by like 70% or 80% or something if you have a referral versus not, because they get a lot of applicants, as you can imagine. What could you do with AWS to get more experience? So the cloud certifications definitely help. So as a sales rep, you don't need to go into the super technical certifications, but the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification is a great one to get. They actually require every sales rep to get it within like their first 3 months of joining. I ended up getting mine in the middle of the interview process, and it definitely helped because it gives you a really good baseline on the technical knowledge that you need, which isn't a lot, but for the cloud, for example, you just need to know how the cloud works in general, how companies are using it, what are the different services that make up the cloud, and then, because most of the interviews, I think it's like 80% of the interviews that you're going to do, they're going to be non-technical. They're going to be culture fit. They're going to be behavioral type questions. But you will have at least like one interview out of like the full round of interviews that'll be technical. That'll kind of test your like knowledge of the space. So, and then freecodecamp.org, they have a great like 4-hour YouTube webinar that literally goes over all the concepts that you need to know for that certification in like just the right amount of depth. Like I passed the exam the first try just watching that video all the way through. I took notes, studied for maybe like an hour or two, and then I took the exam, and it's like a 60-minute online exam. I think it's like 40 questions or something, multiple choice. Pretty easy to get. So, you can do the free course to, the free webinar or whatever to watch it. And then it's only like 60 or 70 bucks, I think, for the certification itself. And you can take it online with the proctor and stuff. So I would say that would be a good first step if you want to get more cloud experience. And that's going to also help you stand out. And if you add that like on your, and you definitely want to add that on your LinkedIn afterwards, because even if let's say you don't go to AWS, there's a lot of AWS partners, cloud partners. So these big cloud companies, their sales teams can only do so much, right? There's so many customers out there. So they have a very robust partner network. So one way that you can get into the big cloud tech companies is you can join a partner organization. You can just literally search AWS Partner Network. They have them worldwide. It's probably best to focus on the companies, the partners that are like local to you. And they're always hiring sales reps and sales engineers and solutions architects. And then once you get that experience, for sure, that makes it way easier to make the jump to AWS or GCP if you really wanted to. If I weren't in tech sales, is there another position I would be doing in tech? Yeah, that's a great question. So if I wasn't in tech sales, one of the positions that I was looking at early on was going into software engineering, but then I realized it's a very different day-to-day. When I was in like the tech support role, for example, it was just like there wasn't enough like personal interaction, at least for me, and that's what I enjoy on the sales side. Like it makes your day a bit more dynamic. But so I considered that early on before I moved into sales. Product management was one role that I was also looking at transitioning into. I was actually looking at going into a product manager role when I was at Google, but unfortunately at the time the Austin office only had like one other product manager, and they had a whole transfer process to go into product management, and that included getting like sponsorship from another product manager, and then you do like a 20% project to get experience, and then you kind of like go through this presentation. But unfortunately, at the time, they didn't support it out of the Austin office, so I didn't end up doing that. But that'll be another role I'd consider doing. Business development can definitely be fun, and then I think I definitely want to do more like on the venture capital side. So I ended up getting my MBA through University of Illinois, and then so that was great actually, because that's where I got my undergrad. It was all online, remote, and then my employer, Google, they paid for like 2/3 of it, so it was only like $6,000 out of pocket. So learned a lot from it. Learned a lot about finance. So I think the venture capital side would be fun too. Been starting to do some angel investing, so I think it'd be great to continue that. And then I also like the content creation side too. But overall, at least for me personally, I think tech sales and software development are probably like the two best roles that you can go in terms of pay potential, work-life balance, and then just overall career mobility. Showed your husband the cool car, now you're just me again in tech sales. Yep. So I mean, I would say like if you're performance driven and you like, if you're driven by money, especially, I think that's like a personality trait that they usually look for in sales reps. And it makes sense because if you're a sales manager, you don't really want to hire a person who's like just happy about like hitting 100% of goal. So let's say like they're SMB rep and then their OTE, on target earnings, is 200K, right? They don't really want a rep necessarily that's only gonna hit the goal of 100% and earn 200K. They want the rep that's hungry, that wants to hit 150%, 200%, and they want the rep who wants to double or triple their pay. Because if the rep does better, the sales manager, they're also on a commission. They do better. The VP of sales, they're also on commission. So same thing too. So they want overachievers. They want people that are like money driven, I guess, because what you're able to do is, they have your sales plan, and they're kind of like looking towards the reps to kind of like optimize, performance based on like the sales plan. So usually in the sales plans, they might have incentives to sell certain products or certain, services in a certain way, and they'll give you additional bonuses for hitting that. But yeah, most of the reps that I know, they're either like into, cars, watches, boats, traveling, and those sorts of things. But I don't know, or maybe they always like those things, or maybe they got into that because now they have extra money. But yeah. Sorry guys, another call. Man, if you saw the Instagram story, I got T-boned in my car yesterday, and then once they do a police report, it's so frustrating. I just realized this. So it happened in Chicago. They have like a public reporting database or whatever. And I guess once you have an accident or whatever, you literally get like nonstop calls from like lawyers and stuff who want to represent you or whatever. So every time I get a call, just annoying. It like knocks me off this thing. So apologize for that freeze. But yeah, what I was saying, yeah. So having like external motivators are definitely great. Like I'm drawing a blank on the female tech sales creator that I follow. She's relatively new on TikTok, but she's big into like Hermes bags and like watches and those sorts of things. And I see that a lot like on my like female coworkers too. So. And then and I'll be doing I'm rescheduling the normal Wednesday live, which is completely open to this evening. So if you're not a subscriber, or if you just can't subscribe for any reason, that's totally fine. Make sure to join at 9 p.m. Central today. I'll be on and be completely open. I try to get to every question. Usually you get like 2,000, 3,000 unique viewers in that hour. So as you can imagine, it's a ton of volume. So that's why I'm starting to do these kind of like subscriber only live. So obviously everyone can watch it, but then you kind of think of it as like pretty cheap, private, coaching or whatever. Oh, and then the other perk that's talking about is I have a long list of video topics I need to record, so I'm going to prioritize sub requests for those too. Let me see. Another resource you guys should definitely check out, if you haven't already, is RepView. So if you're like evaluating different tech sales organizations, using stuff like Glassdoor can be tricky or not even like that helpful, because a company could have a great Glassdoor rating, but their sales organization could be terrible. Like they could either have like terrible leadership, their sales plan sucks, the product isn't that actually great to sell. So RepView they've really focused on tech sales, So they have very in-depth compensation and tech sales organization information at like the different levels too, right? So sales reps can make very big ranges or make money in very big ranges, right? So at the entry level, you're making like 60 to 100K. At the enterprise level, you could be making, over $1 million, right? So on Glassdoor, when you look at it, typically it says like sales rep or account representative. That doesn't give you enough nuance. So like RepView actually breaks it down, and they break it down into those different segments: SMB, mid-market, enterprise, and then key and strategic accounts. So you can get some great information. Because there's also some companies too where you might actually be better off joining like the mid-market team versus the enterprise team, just because maybe the product actually sells better in the mid-market space versus enterprise, and you can actually see that data, which is kind of cool. So they're actually also a partner of mine. So we've been working with Darren and Ryan for almost over a year, actually, I think right now. Great team. They're investing a lot into building out that database. So, and they also have a lot of job postings there too. So make sure you check them out as well. Oh, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was Huel. So I just did a post for Huel. So I actually been doing Huel Black in the morning. That's kind of like their meal replacement thing. I do that like every day. It's been super great. I've been doing more lifting, so it's a good way to get in my calories. And then they also have like their hot and savory whatever offering. So it's kind of like a hot meal that's like you just put in hot water or you put in the microwave. But anyway, you can check out that post. And then I have like the $15 off thing in the bio there. Hopefully I'll be doing that more too. But yeah, I'm on another note too. I will be like ramping up the content production. So with the car getting probably totaled, I'm in between two options. One is I had my Tesla Model X Plaid that I had ordered a while back. It's finally ready for delivery for pickup this week. But I'm on the fence of either going with that or there's like this big RV camper that I was going to buy and then maybe just be on the road for like a year. So we'll see. I'm kind of like in between those two options. So let me know what you guys think. Actually, do a smiley face if you think I should do the plaid, or or the frowny face or cry face if you think I should do the RV life. With the RV one, I have some kind of interesting ideas where it would be like kind of a road trip around the country, do like local meetups in kind of those different states, and then I want to do more like nonprofit work. Like I did a couple of volunteering sessions at a job readiness program here in the south side of Chicago, which was great. Helped with like interview prep. So I'd love to like do that with more communities too. But the plaid is cool too. So I mean, I love the Model X. It sucks that it got T-boned literally yesterday. So frustrating. Record some videos, but I don't know if I'll post that much about it until like after it gets all settled. I think it's usually best practice not to post too much about it. We'll see. Big stuff coming. Okay, so plaid. Let's see. Yeah, they texted me this morning. They said it's ready. I was gonna be trading in the old Tesla, and I texted them, hey, like, sorry, the trade-in got T-boned, so can you update it with no trade-in? Hopefully it gets totaled. It got smashed pretty bad. Like I couldn't drive it. I've also been like kind of like modifying this little thing at the bottom. I think I got to move it up though a little bit because it looks like the top comment gets kind of covered up there. But for any of the subs too, maybe this guest request doesn't work. I think it does. But if you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to ask it. Let me see. Should be able to. It should like pop up there. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if actually with the guests, because I've seen people do guests on their lives. I don't know if you need to have like a certain number of followers to do it, but you guys can do a little guest. You can do the guest request there. Let's see. JFOK, the Tesla guru. My Model X got totaled, man. It got totaled. I think it got totaled. He's got like I think the biggest Tesla following on TikTok. But thanks everyone. Thanks for all the questions. I think I'm gonna wrap up here. I think I might move by poolside and then maybe I'll just hop back on and then take off the I got I don't think it lets me change from subscribers only to everyone in the comments, but I'll probably pop back on and I'll just have it open and we'll see what happens. But thanks everyone. Thanks for the questions. And again, look at all the resources. I got a bunch out there. I'll be putting more out there too. And I'll talk to you guys later.